Hello everyone, in this video presentation, I will explain the design and theoretical framework of my teaching plan based on Oscar Wilde's The Happy Prince. I have selected this text specifically for a senior high school intermediate ESO class. My rationale for this selection is rooted in Hillary's incentive dimension. This story deals with universal themes of kindness, sacrifice, and the gap between rich and poor. These are themes that teenage learners can emotionally connect with, which is essential for motivation. The lesson is designed for a 60-minute period. However, in this 15-minute presentation, I will focus specifically on the pre-reading and guided reading stages. I will demonstrate how I have integrated Bloom's taxonomy to move students from lower order thinking skills like remembering to high order skills like analyzing. Furthermore, I will explicitly highlight how I apply Hillary's 3 dimensions of learning content: incentive, and interaction, alongside Vygotsky's scaffolding techniques to support language acquisition. Let's begin with the pre-reading stage. My primary objective here is to lower the cognitive load for students before they encounter the text. According to Hillary's content dimension, students need a foundational understanding of specific vocabulary to construct meaning. I have identified 3 potential blocker words in the first paragraph: gilded, sapphire, and hilt. If students stop to check a dictionary for these words while reading, it breaks their flow. Therefore, I use a visual pre-teaching strategy. I would present an image of a gold leaf object and ask, "Is this solid gold?" When they say no, I introduce the term gilded. This is not just teaching a word. It is setting up the central theme of the story: appearance versus reality. I also anticipate that students might struggle with the pronunciation of sapphire. To address the psychomotor domain, I would have the class repeat the word sapphire clearly. This helps them physically practice the f sound before they see it in the text. By doing this, I am effectively activating their prior knowledge and creating the bridge into the story, ensuring that the incentive dimension is high because they feel prepared and confident to read. However, teaching vocabulary in isolation is not enough. Before we start reading the text, I also include the visual prediction phrase. I would show the students the cover image of the story again, the contrast between the golden statue and the dark, dirty city below. I would ask them, "Look at the colors. Why is the prince bright gold, but the city is dark gray?" If a student struggles to answer, I would use scaffolding by giving them a sentence starter. Maybe the gold represents blah blah blah, while the green represents blah blah blah. By doing this, I am not just teaching English, I am teaching visual literacy. This step ensures that even the weaker students have a basic concept of the story's conflict before they face the difficult text. Moving on to the guided reading stage, here I heavily rely on Vygotsky's zone of proximal development. My students are at an intermediate level. They can read symbol text independently, but Oscar Wilde's descriptive language is slightly beyond their independent capability. This is their ZPD. To bridge this gap, I act as the more knowledgeable other through teaching modeling. I will read the first paragraph aloud to the class first. Let me demonstrate how I will do this to emphasize the adjectives. High above the city, on tall column, stood the statued Happy Prince. He was gilded all over with thin leaves of fine gold. For eyes he had two bright sapphires, and a large red ruby glued on his sword hilt. You will notice I slowed down on high and tall. This is intentional scaffolding. I am using my prosody, my voice intonation to help them visualize the setting. After reading, I will ask a cognitive application question. Close your eyes. Where is the prince? Is he close to people? This question forces them to take the auditory input and convert it into a mental image. It checks their understanding without asking for a direct translation. If I simply ask them to read silently, many would miss the special relationship of the prince being above the city, which is crucial for understanding his eventual isolation. After analyzing the prince, I will move to a challenging part of the text, the satirical comment by the town councillor. The text says, I am glad there is someone in the world who is quite happy, muttered a disappointed man. I anticipate that my intermediate students might miss the irony here. Cultural nuances are often the hardest part of ESO learning. To help them, I would act this part out. I would demonstrate the disappointed man's voice, grumpy and sad. Then I will ask, is this man truly happy that the prince is happy? Or is he just jealous? Ask students to role play this one sentence in pairs, trying to sound jealous. This psychomodal activity helps them feel the emotion of the character, making the abstract concept of satire concrete and understandable. In the next phase of the lesson, I shifted the pedagogical approach from teacher-centered to student-centered. This aligns with Hillary's interaction dimension, where learning occurs through the social context. I would direct the students' attention to the line where the town councilor says, "He is as beautiful as a weathercock, only not quite so useful." This is a challenging concept. To help them unpack it, I would use a think, pair, share activity. I would ask them to discuss in pairs. Why does the counselor say that the prince is not useful? This question targets the analysis and evaluation levels of Bloom's taxonomy. They have to analyze the character of the counselor and evaluate his values. They will realize that the society in the story values utility over beauty. By having them discuss this in pairs, I am utilizing Vygotsky's theory of social interaction. Students construct meaning together. A weaker student might not understand the irony, but through dialogue with a partner, they can reach that understanding. I would then circulate the room to listen. If they are struggling, I would provide further scaffolding, perhaps by asking, "What does the weathercock do? Does a statue do any work?" This guides them back to the answer without giving it to them directly. Before I conclude, I want to briefly explain how I would handle the feedback session after the pair discussions. In a typical classroom, students might be very shy to share their ideas about loneliness, but to lower the affective filter, I will not ask individual students to stand up immediately. Instead, I will use a snowball strategy. Pairs join another pair to form a group of 4 and share ideas first. Only after this small group sharing would I ask for class feedback. And when they give answers, I would focus on positive reinforcement, praising their ideas rather than just correcting their grammar. This ensures they remain motivated to speak. Finally, I want to address the affective domain more deeply. Language acquisition is not just about vocabulary. It is about emotional connection. I would ask the class, "The prince is called happy, but he sees all the sadness in the city. Can you be truly happy if you see others suffering?" This question has no right or wrong answer. It is designed to elicit a personal response. It connects the text back to Hillary's incentive dimension, making the learning matter to them personally. To conclude the lesson plan, the final task is a psychomotor activity. Students must write a short script for a role play between the prince and swallow. This task synthesizes everything: the vocabulary, the themes, and the collaborative work. It proves that they have not just understood the text, but can produce language based on it. In summary, this teaching plan effectively combines Hillary's holistic view of learning with Vygotsky's structured support, ensuring that these high school learners are not just reading a story, but acquiring language through literature. And that's all. Thank you for listening.